Hello! Welcome to another video of Eternal Return character guide, and today we're going to be doing one of my main characters that I play, and probably my most played character on this rank season, Sua. So Sua is a melee character that uses bat and hammer. I mostly use bat, but you can also use hammer, but today we're going to highlight a build that I did that I found out, and I tried it, and I've done a few builds, and I've really enjoyed this build because it gives a lot of lifesteal, gives a lot of survivability during fights, even though it is very much SP heavy usage and very low SP total, so you definitely have to stock up on the beverages. It's still a very good build. I highly recommend it, and if not, I will also explain there are some other items you can do to change it out to kind of help that SP problem out, but because I play Sua so much, I've just got very accustomed to this build and just very excited. So without further ado, we're going to show off this build, and if you really want to see this plan for yourself, make sure to click on search saved plans, type in that 5-digit code, which is 32823, which will also be in the description of the video. So without further ado, let's showcase off this build. So this build, so basically we start at, or we go Spy Umbrella, we go Cardinal Rose, we go Motorcycle Helmet, Nightingale, and Tachyon Brace. Basically all these items give a decent amount of skill amp, defense, and healing power, and also a little bit of attack speed as well on top of that to help out with your passive as well as just your auto, because that's the main point of your damage on Sua. And the pathing that I take, I usually go school, fire station, and pond. I usually don't teleport, or I don't use any teleports. I basically go from school, I basically walk all the way up to fire station, loot fire station, then walk to pond, loot pond, and then usually clear whatever mobs at pond for the leather, as well as getting flowers at pond and all that other stuff. Tactical skills, so you can run a few other things, but most people, and I just use flash. It's just very simple. It gives you a lot of playmaking, as well as just kind of, you know, it's just, there's not really any other ones that are really the best with her. I mean, you could run some, like, you could do False Oath, you could do, if you really want to go supportive, you could go Amplification Drone or even Quake. But nah. Flash is the best. It just gives you playmaking, gets you out, gets you in, and just be able to, you know, it's basically a very nice tack skill to use. So, augments. So this build is very much vampiric bloodline. So basically it is a lot of Omni Siphon, which that's kind of what my items are doing. It's basically an Omni Siphon, attack, speed, defense, along with just some basically like sustain, survivability, and just attack speed and just being able to fight. So we run Vampiric Bloodline because basically every time you damage a test subject, it basically gives you Omni Siphon and it stacks, and at max stacks you get increased damage. So, and you can stack those up pretty easily in battle with your Q as well as your RQ, and just really just get that Omni Siphon really quick. And then for the two below, I go Anima Reaper to get stacks for increased skill amp, as well as Open Wounds that basically just does a little bit of bleed damage over a couple seconds when you first damage an enemy. And then for the sub stats, I go blue, I go Cavalcade along with Unwavering Mentality. So basically Cavalcade just reduces damage when people are near you. You're going to be a melee character, you're going to be in the middle of team fights. So ideally it just gives you more defensive stats when you're fighting just in team fights in general. And then Unwavering Mentality is just nice because your ultimate's on a decently short cooldown, especially when it gets late game. It's only like 20 seconds, 25 seconds, depending on your build. But it's very short cooldown. You can be able to spam it very easily and get a shield every time you use your ultimate, because your ultimate basically just mimics your previously used ability. But yeah. Late game build. So this is basically the build that I do, and on the second row there's basically some alternative like substitutes that you can do. So I usually run Ghost Hand, which gives me Primordial Hex, which is really, really nice. Gives me good attack, skill amp, and cooldown reduction, which is nice. Cabana, which is good defense and skill amp, and gives also healing reduction, since all my other items don't do healing reduction. For the helmet, there is a little bit of like a leeway with this one. I personally run Racing Helmet just because I really like the passive with Photon Launcher, where it basically gives you like kind of like on your when you have a couple stacks on your next attack, it does a little more skill amp, so it can really stack up, especially if you get 3 stacks on your passive. So you just bonk 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 and basically like do a crap ton of damage on that 3rd bonk. And it's really, really, and it does a decent amount of healing from your does a decent amount of healing from the damage that the Racing Helmet provides from Photon Launcher. And then the ring, or the arm piece that we use, is Clawdaw's Ring, which is the new item that came out in Season 3. It gives defense, skill, and healing power, which you do get a decent amount of healing from your Q, your RQ, as well as like your E. If you hit an enemy, like you get healing from your entire kit, you get healing from Vampiric, you get healing from the Omni Siphon in your IM, so basically just scales up all the healing that you get, and I definitely like this item. I usually ran Tyndalos' Monarch. You could definitely run that one, but if you don't run the purple item, which I believe it is called, not this one, Tyndalos' Band, then you can run Tyndalos' Monarch, but I've been liking Clawdaw's Ring, and I would highly recommend it because this is a very much a Vampiric Omni Siphon build SUA, where healing is very, very important. So, and then finally, your boots. There's not too many options you could, but I go Boots of Hermes because it gives you defense, movement speed, and tenacity, which also helps your tankiness and your tank stats. So, just a very, very simple choice in that matter, because you don't need healing reduction and because you have it from Cabana. And if you go like a different chest piece, which you could go like Holy Order for the skill amp scaling as well as the defensive stats in that, you could also change out Boots of Hermes for like a Legs of Steel, so you can still get that healing reduction from the item. But mainly you want to go Ghost Hand, Cabana, Racing Helmet, Clawdaw's Ring, and Boots of Hermes. And then if you get to a late game point, you can build Rod of Heart with the Dawn upgrade for your blood weapon. And then if you find a Taproot, you can use Taproot. Or if you're having an SP problem, which I would highly recommend, is Brain Glacial Shoes. It basically increases SP regen by like, it basically doubles your SP regen as well as giving you a good amount of CDR. So it's just very, very nice overall and just a very good item to use in general. Skill leveling. So I'm going to go through the skills real quick. I'm going to explain them, and then I will tell you kind of what I level personally. So Q is basically, it is 2 books, and then it's a line, 2 books at ends. They come together and they meet in the middle wherever you cast your Q. And if you're in the middle, you get stunned, you get slowed, you get damage if you get hit by any of the books that collapse into the center. And it also does apply a bookmark, which I will also explain, which kind of does go with your passive as well as your E. So I will explain that once I get to there. W. So there's 2 effects to your W. So W, self-cast, which means if you cast it on yourself or an ally, will apply a CC immune shield that is kind of like a Morgana-y kind of like, you know, Black Shield kind of thing, where it gives you CC, like it gives you a little magic shield, but it also gives you CC immunity for your next CC like interaction or whatever like that. So it's just a very nice like fighting tool, be able to go in, avoid some CC, and then just be able to pump out damage, because you know, some comps definitely rely on CC and trying to burst somebody, and if you just CC immunity whoever gets caught out, or just CC immunity yourself, it's kind of, you win that fight just based off of that W. So it's a very, very important skill, and it's very, very used wisely. But there's a second effect, and if you cast the W on an enemy, basically sends out this little bird that goes to the enemy, hits the enemy, and basically applies a blinded status to them, and it does skill damage. It does skill damage and blinds them, which basically means they kind of miss basic attacks. So it's pretty good on like some melee characters as well as like range 80 carry and marksmen that you're trying to catch out. So next ability, your E. So your E is like your dash, it's your movement. Basically, you transform your weapon and it transforms into a lance and you just dash forward and basically does skill damage. And if you hit an enemy, it slows them down. But if you have a bookmark on the enemy, which is applied by either your Q or your RQ, you can actually cause some CC, knock up the character, whoever you hit with your E that has a bookmark applied to them, knocks them up in the air, does CC, and basically also does recover some health as well. So kind of goes back to the vampiric, all the healing stuff from your Q, your E, your RE, your RQ, and vampiric, and your Omni-Siphon items. Yeah. Everything about this character is very much vampiric, lifesteal, healing, and survivability in team fights. Like, that is literally Sua, and this build in particular. So definitely gives a lot of priority in fights, and if you really roll over a game, she's super fun, and I highly recommend playing her. And then her ultimate. So her ultimate is basically a mimic. It's called Memory. A mimic, basically, if you play League of Legends, LeBlanc, like old LeBlanc and current LeBlanc, basically, it mimics the previously used ability. So if you used a Q and then you cast R, it's basically an RQ. And you'll hear me say these terms, RQ, RW, RE. That basically just means the ultimate of that ability. So usually it is saved for RQ, because obviously it does more damage, does more skill amp, as well as CC in that. And if you really need to like escape, you can always use your E as an RE or chase with RE. And then W, there's not too many situations you will run into where you'll use your ultimate for your W, but it can happen. It's potential, and and sometimes it can really help, especially with a heavy CC team and a team fight that's very extended. And then her passive is called Bookworm. So basically, after every time she uses a skill, her next basic attack does more damage and does like a little AoE kind of damage. So it kind of does do a lot of splash damage. And then every time she does damage based off of that passive, she gets a little bit of HP, and she can have up to 3 stacks. And basically, for every stack she has more attack speed. So if you get 3 stacks on and kind of combo that racing helmet, you basically get 3 stacks. You hit like some kind of squishy 80 carry or melee character, and you could do 80%, 100% to them basically if you have the 3 stacks, as well as having like Racing Helmet's Photon Launcher passive, and it does quite a bit of damage and just really is good. So ideally, I mostly use it for just kind of doing skill damage. I basically cast a skill, bonk, cast a skill, bonk, and if you really want to too, if it's like a really big mob, you can just stack it a couple of times and just keep going, and does a lot more damage in that. So, skill leveling wise, so basically I start, you always start your mobility skill first. You go E, Q, W, and then I max tactical first. So your tactical and your Q are probably your most important skills. So I usually max tactical at level 9, and then at level 10 I max Q, and then you go E, then W. So the final 2 skills are kind of like interchangeable. You could level up W first, then go E. I personally like E because I like the cooldown on the E and being able to like, move and just have that cooldown up quicker, just for mobility, as well as just it's just nice to have mobility. So I personally like leveling up E, then going W last. So that is basically this whole guide. I'm gonna show off a game. I'm gonna explain my game. I'm gonna try to explain my thought process about Sua and how I play her, and just kind of explain it out. And we'll show off a game. If they'll let me. Let me see if I can type something real quick. There we go. Alright. Here we go. So now we'll show off a game that I did a couple of days ago with Sua. I'm going to show it off. I'll explain everything and try to give my interpretation of what I do with Sua. I'm very, very excited. Sua is my most played character right now during rank. I think I have, currently at this moment, I have like 20-some games with her. I have pretty decent stats on her, and just, I've been really liking playing Sua. Sua gives me a lot of prioritization in fights, as well as just being really, like, kind of self-reliant in that, and just kind of being able to carry some fights too as well, because you do quite a bit of damage. I will say, so this game, I quite enjoyed, and a good comp with her, which I personally really like this comp. This comp, I think, is a perfect Sua comp, where you have like another melee character, preferably more of like a tank, but I mean, it could be any kind of secondary melee character. I just like personally playing two melees with like another melee with her, and then playing a range character, and the range character could be anything. Like, I know a really well-known comp that goes around is Alonso Sua Sylvia, which is a pretty decent comp, and this is a very similar structured with, other than maybe a little less healing from, like, you know, you get no healing from Haze, but you get healing from Sylvia, but that doesn't really matter, but it's still the range character, does damage, and may not, like, all zen with you, but overall, it kind of fits in that little bit of that same slot, but not fully, but it still works very well. As you can tell, I'm just going through Fire Station right now. I'm going to Pond, getting my last little bits of items, and, you know, you only need one leather, you only need one stone, and you need one you only need one flower on this build. Actually, you need 2 flowers, I believe, but that doesn't really matter because you get 2 flowers from whenever you pick it up. So ideally, at this point too, when I play Sua, I try and figure out, like, I try to get to this place as quick as I can. If I see some people here, I skirmish with them, and if not, I just kind of just clear out the wolves here, I clear out the chickens, and as you can tell, I'm trying to do a little bit of damage here, being a little bit annoying. I try to RE to chase the Katya, but unfortunately, she got the speed gate along with her E on me. That gives her more movement speed, so just kind of ignored that. But ideally, this is usually how I kind of play this early game out. See a person get teleported, and then I just decide nope. So I go away, and I believe I teleport to my Haze, which she is in police station along with Alonso meeting up. So ideally, we're grouping up really quickly, and ideally, you do want to meet, like, you want to group up with your team, hopefully by the end of day 1, if not the beginning of night 1. Ideally, the sooner the better, but also you want to prioritize getting your build done, and if you're having troubles, that can obviously delay it, and sometimes it happens, and, you know, and sometimes you just gotta have to just, you know, work with what you got kind of thing. So ideally, try to group as quick as you can and get your build done as quick as possible too. Also, as you can note too as well, like on the top left, I'll show all my items. I haven't really collected any SP items, but I should say, so the reason why I say you need beverages really, really bad with this build is that her abilities use quite a bit of SP, and as you can tell on the top, it only says I have 600 SP, right? And basically each of her skills is about 100. And in a fight, if you, use, a few of those abilities, you're definitely going to run out of SP really, really fast. So that's why I kind of recommend getting either water from the water wells, getting whiskey, getting any of those beverages just to kind of get up. But yeah, ideally, I just try to get water bottles and then usually make some kind of like just upgraded drink either into green or blue territory. So as we're going through this game, so this is the end of day 1. So day 2 will spawn some objectives. So meteorites will spawn in a couple places. Trees spawns in Temple, Hotel, and Cemetery for day 2. Ideally with this build, because the late game transitions go 1 tree, 1 meteorite, 2 mithrils, and a core. So ideally, I personally like going Mithril first because I like getting that racing helmet as quick as I humanly can. But I also sometimes go Ghost Hand for the weapon, or sometimes if I get a meteor, I go Cabana. So it really doesn't matter as long as you get one of those three, or you even can go the ring or the arm piece with Claudos Ring. Ideally, it's one of those. You're probably not going to get Hermes till later, ideally, unless if you just get a core handed to you by a teammate or something like that. But ideally, I don't put prioritization on Boots of Hermes until like later in the game. Ideally, I want to get everything else before I get Boots of Hermes, but sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But ideally, and in this kind of comp too, I kind of wanted to prioritize giving Haze items because Haze is kind of like a marksman skill amp user that does quite a bit of damage, and ideally is probably going to be like the real damage dealer of our comp, and probably what Alonso is going to keep alive too. So ideally, I gave Haze that first tree. If you don't know, Haze does use quite a bit of tree items. That's why I gave her a tree. So see, I Q in, I E, kind of missed, but yeah, so basically what happened was I walked up to this Katya, that she was using her ultimate. I walk up, and I just full prioritization, dodge the Yuki ult. Oh. And then I flash out and do a knockback with the bat, and oh man. And then we get 2 kills there, so ideally, that whole fight, I saw the Katya, you kind of want to just prioritize a marksman. You can get back really easy with your E. And even though I didn't kill the Katya, I still did quite a bit of damage. I slightly sidestepped the Yuki ult and then just kind of peeled off. And bat skill, and this is the thing too, I wouldn't have not lived there if it wasn't for bat skill. I know some people do use hammer. Sua, I personally don't. I use bat. I like bat because you can knock an enemy into the wall, stun them like this, and just bonk 2 bonks and Athapon's dead. Like, and then you see W Marlene teleport in, i.e. miss because she ults out, and just see as my team just runs in, chases in the W Marlene down, because, yeah, we're trying to team wipe here. Alonso chases down, does the finger point, do Q, and that's a team wipe for us. I personally was very much enjoying this game, so I had a really good rank session last time we played. I think we just came off like a win, so this is like back-to-back wins, and I was very, very happy. And when I saw this comp and I was like, oh, I get to play Sua with this, I was very excited. Ooh. And then Alonso goes in, finger points. Alonso's still a little crazy. Soichi goes in, does some damage. I go in, stun, lock up whoever that was, which is Soichi. Yuki goes in, kills the Haze off, which I have to unfortunately leave because both of my teammates go down and just have to escape and just, you know, lick our wounds, sadly. But ideally our goal there is to kind of burst the Soichi down, but Soichi is very, very hard to lock down just because he's a mobile assassin. So very, very challenging to lock down, but you know, we did get him eventually, but unfortunately we lost the fight because our Haze did unfortunately get caught out and died to the Yuki. So now I'm just looting, farming up, waiting for teammates to spawn. And ideally, you see I'm around 350 some credits. Usually around this time, I try and craft, and I try to craft like Mithril ideally, because I like going Racing Helmet first, just because, as I mentioned, you get real amounts of damage on that 3 stack, as well with the Photon Launcher passive. It's just very, very good overall. As you can tell here, I go Mithril. And I start building, I believe, yep, switch out the helmets and go Racing Helmet. And a good little tip of advice is if you're not in combat, just to speed up the time, you can like left click the item you're crafting, put it into your actual gear that you're using, like your items that you're using, and then you can like drag out or control right click on the the item, like your purple item that you had, and drop it just to kind of save time, because ideally when you do your transitions and get your gold items, you ideally just put your purple item on the ground because you don't need it, and it just takes up your space. Here we just get the tree. I believe our Haze got another tree. As I said before, Haze does use a lot of trees in her build. At least my build I know has like 3 or 4 trees I use in the build. It's pretty crazy. So definitely want to prioritize trees with her. And yeah, just here we're just going around, farming, clearing everything. Just trying to farm as much as we can. Get food, get all that stuff. But yeah. But no, so with Sua, so the reason why I like Sua, like I just love, I don't know why, like I didn't know how much I would feel about Sua, but when I started playing her, I really enjoyed her. She was really fun. I just thoroughly loved how the fighting style of her, which was basically being able to pump out lots of damage, but also be like a little tanky enough to have like that survivability to go into fights in that. And just overall, like, even though yes, this build is very SP forward, very SP heavy usage, I've kind of like adjusted and learned just to get, like, you know, beverages, get SP items, and just be sure I'm on top of that, because, you know, ideally you want to be, hopefully in a fight, if you're controlling a 3v3, you want to be full health, you want to be full SP, and ideally too, you want tempo. Tempo is everything in this game, and just having, like, you know, being able to loot as much as you can, be able to farm as much as you can, be able to get as many credits as you can. So basically, it's kind of like time is money, money is time, all that blah, blah, blah. And ideally, if you do carry SP and food with you, you can heal and passively heal up as well. So it's very, very nice, and definitely a word of recommendation for that. And ideally too, the combo that you want to do, I try to Q, and if I hit a Q on like a squishy, I usually go Q, E, and, or like I sometimes can go Q, like Q, and then it really depends on how quick I cast it. It could be like kind of QE auto, or like QE W auto for that triple burst stack, and then you basically cast RQ, or you could do like a Q, RQ, E into that triple auto burst down, and then... Alright, so here we build a tree. We're going Ghost Hand. Ideally, I like going my weapon, and if you're going like a damage dealer, ideally you want your weapon first, or not like your weapon first, but you want your weapon earlier in your transitions comparative to your other items. Here we're just clearing min bears, getting mastery, getting XP, getting levels up like that. And as you can see here, there is a team here. I think we got some pings. We saw a team. This Kacha kind of walks up and just kind of gets poked out quite a bit. I see that Jackie, I just try to zone her off. Jackie goes in, I just stun, and we're basically peeling for the Haze there. Yeah, Jackie jumps on the Haze, I QE, and then use Bat to kind of knock her away into like the wall, or just away from the Haze in general. And just good peel, good fight, and even though that was a duo, there was still a good fight from us to get 2 kills there. And at this point, this is about the end of night 3. There's 5 teams left. Yeah, there's 5 teams out of the 8. We also see, if you see on the bottom too, there is Team 8 that is quite a bit right now. They have 12 TKs with us having 8, and unfortunately they just lost a Piolo. But yeah, like we were pretty active and pretty proactive this game. I thought, like, early on we had some proactivity, and then probably once we found that duo, that's when we kind of picked up the pace and really try to, you know, get prioritization over zones, objectives, and get everything like that. And I also did get a meteorite from that battle as well, so that's, as you can tell, I have Kambana now, so that's my 3rd item. And that was just a lucky gamble that I just picked up a meteorite from the body. And when you get something like that, you just build with what you got, and if you can't use it, give it to a teammate to try and see what they can use with it. And as you can tell here, we see some pings. Alonso goes in really heavy here before even I could get nearby. I see this Nathapon. I Q, RQ, flash. I predict the flash. And then stun into... Oh, yeah. I basically predicted the Nathapon flash to chase. I don't believe I had to flash there just because I was right next to him, but I did flash just to kind of avoid some CC from him, as well as some damage just to kind of help me out. And as you can tell here, we got 2 kills. I believe we got the W. They got the W and Marlene down. I got Nathapon down. And basically this whole game to me was very much just prioritize. Basically, I prioritized, like, their squishiest target, which in that situation was the Nathapon. I focused him down, take out the Nathapon, and then basically the Alonso and the Haze play together. And Alonso basically just beats the tank and be that front line for Haze. And as you can see, now we have completed full build. So I believe I found a core on the ground, or there was a core on the body that one of my teammates gave me. I got core, so I got Hermes, and then I got Claudius Rain. I believe I just crafted a meteor, a mithril, and yeah, that was full build. So we are full build at the end of night 4. I believe also Haze was full build, or no, Haze was 3 items, but she had a blood item, and then Alonso had 4 items too, with the tankiness of stuff. So we were in a very, very good spot. Like, I was full build, I was a few items. I was feeling good at this point. We had 10 kills, doing really good. Aya gets too close, steps up. I just root, and whew, goodbye. She gets blown up in 2 seconds. This was a very interesting fight. My goal is to kind of just keep Piolo away from the Haze. Unfortunately, Haze got killed, I think, to the wolves and like a little bit of bleed. So I go and res because I believe the Piolo peeled off to fight against the Alonso. So I got a quick res off, and then Alonso went down. And Alonso gets fooled here, sadly. So our prioritization here when our Alonso went down was to quickly res, because you can't res once it gets to day 5. So basically we were trying to res as quick as we could humanly did. We got it off on the last second, and that's probably the reason why we were able to win this game. Just because we got that res off the final day, and even though they got a reset off on them, but they were also walking into our thing, and also their AI got popped. We noticed that, so it was a 3v2. I look at the Cecilia, I knock her down, get damage on her. I flash just to get over the car, and then yeah, just a nice little cleanup there from the Haze, and yeah, that was a good old team fight. So they decided to rotate into us, that team that we fought in archery range. They decided to rotate up into gas station, and unfortunately that kind of killed them, sadly. Just that definitely did kill them. And yeah, and the AI got popped, and the AI got popped in the zone, so it's just a 3v2 and they were at a disadvantage, and we just cleaned up the fight pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy. And yeah, so now we're at 3 teams left. So it's basically, and I didn't think I noticed them fighting. I think I saw pings here, but obviously you can't tell if they're fighting while you're in game. But once it went to 2 teams, we knew that that's where they were fighting, that they wiped, and then when you hit tab, you can see all the remaining teams left. You look, and I saw as a Felix, a Kathy, and an Emma. So ideally, in this scenario, I was like, how do we do this? And I'm like, I have to lock down probably Emma, which Emma is very, very hard. Haze gets good poke here. I just decided to go in, and Kathy actually just gets caught out and locked down. Haze did really, really good poke. I kind of followed up with a Q, and then just, yeah, we just kind of just slow burned them down really, really fast. It was actually a really, really quick game because, yeah, the Haze got really, really good poke there. I got some good poke there, and then when the Kathy tried to all in, Alonso CC'd her. I believe I batted her into the wall. And then just damage outtook there. And Kathy's not like a super tanky character. She's kind of like an assassin that kind of does some healing. There, I was trying to look and see what was happening, and my team kind of ran to Alonso. I kind of eaten the wall a little bit. We don't look at that one, but yeah. we win that game. It was very, very good. I was very, very happy with the results, and that was kind of where I ended that rank night, just because went back-to-back wins, and it was just overall very, very good game from us. But yes, that's gonna do it for my SUA guide. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to throw a comment on the video. I'll try to answer your question. Or if you want more information and you want me and a live interaction, you can go check out my channel at twitch.tv/VitreousAnima. You'll see the link on my channel, as well as probably a link below in the description that takes you to my Twitch channel, where I mostly do the main parts of my content. But without further ado, thank you all for joining. Hope you enjoyed this SUA character guide, and I'll see you guys in the next character guide. Bye-bye.